Dear Creator of all that is, we know our mind, body, spirit is here to realize our greater evolution. Humanity has paid a great price in our quest for alignment with our purpose. For millennia, we have been compromised by dark energies and ill-intentioned persons, ignorant of what we know about ourselves as divine children radiating our inherent love. We ask with every breath we take that our thoughts, our words, and our reflection of your source, that is, to emanate light and love. And from this place, this awareness, we know our actions are rightful and are inspired only for the good of all. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
My name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. I'm here with William and Richard. Say hello, William. Say hello, Richard.
William Appel. I'm from the Portland area and the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly.
I'm Richard, and I'm laying low. The fugitive.
Okay, I'm going to bring up what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about I want to talk about the USPS, the story of the United States Postal Service. How is it a .com and a .gov? How does a man named Keith Livingway claim to be the United States Postmaster General or some such fiction? How does Russell-J. Gould claim a similar title? We of the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly have a presentment to be filed against 6 executives of the USPS for several issues, including wearing a mask and being excluded from a post office for wearing a mask. Why is there...
For wearing a mask or not wearing a mask?
For not wearing a mask.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Richard. Why is there a legal law or a code that states, and I'll be close but not exact, this act enables a man or a woman in our jurisdiction the benefit of a 2-cent mail postcard or a 3-cent letter? A guy named Ted, maybe Tim, at t@abodia.com knows all of that perfectly. He's got it wired. There are many that know this. I tested it, and my envelope came back with postage due. I kept it for evidence. The USPS wanted additional 47 cents, more than the Congress made lawful. He who can be deceived, let him. I detest that law form. They use it on us all the time. When I thought that the United States Federal District Court Portland was an Article 3 Amendment 7 court, I filed cases into it. Then I found out different. But the case number still stands against the USPS. It was transferred into equity and miscellaneous, and it was moved to USCIT in New York. All of that was done when I was Ronald Charles Vroman, Private Attorney General by the United States Congress, 42 U.S.C. 1988 and 18 U.S.C. 1510 and 18 U.S.C. 1512, to be known as one of the people, also qualified criminal investigator and federal witness. Let me move this up a little bit. So I wrote a petition for redress of grievance against the USPS and read it to a supervisor at the Beaverton post office. About 10 minutes. And then he signed a serve verbally and written form for me. Then I went downtown and filed it with Matt at Courthouse 740. When I speak in a full voice, they hear me in the cheap seats. No one in the post office was curious about what I said. They all heard it loud and clear. A small aside on Matt, now retired deputy clerk of the Federal District Court in Portland. When I introduced myself to the U.S. Marshals, the U.S. attorneys at the DOJ, and the court in 2015, I got dressed really well. I frequently dress so that when I meet anyone on that day, I will be as well dressed or better dressed than anybody I meet. So I went to Courthouse 740 at 1000 Southwest 3rd Avenue in Portland by myself, and I asked Matt, the intake clerk, how does this operate? And he said, mail it to me, just a stamp. I'll file it, stamp it on your copy, and mail your copy back. And he did it too. Whereas the sheriff of Washington County, Pat Garrett, said to me in a conversation, I said, Pat, I mailed you a letter. He said, did you mail it registered, return receipt requested? No. Then I didn't get it. Here are some issues with the USPS. There are two operations running at the same time, at the same place, a .com and a .gov. We need to sort out Keith Livingway and Russell-J. Gould, both claim to be postmaster generals, and then the post office, .gov, has another one. Then we need to throw in the UPU. Why does a 2-cent stamp only work sometimes? The law's there all the time. When you accept free home delivery of your mail, you are in contract with the .gov part of the USPS. I'm told to use in care of on your address when you have mail sent to your home or your abode or your whatever it's called. I choose to go general delivery. My mail stops at the post office and I go get it. When I was on probation for 3 years, that was reduced to 18 months, I went to the DMV and changed my driver's license to continuous traveler, not a driver, with general delivery as an address. It really pisses the cops off when they go through my wallet and cannot find an address. When you need proof of service, the best way is UPU for $1.55 and with a PS 3817 U.S. postal form and a 2-cent stamp and a forever stamp, about $2, and you have your copy round stamped and proof of service by treaty. So that's what I'd like to discuss today. Anybody want to jump in?
Well, let's start with the dual post office. I think maybe I could offer something, but I am only speculating. I think there are two services. There's a government service, and then there is the corporate, private, the non-governmental service, which is the .com, the .commercial. But that's not a big deal. That's almost universal. What I don't understand is how they have two different guys running each of them. And Ron, did you meet either one or both of those postmasters, the .com and the .gov? Have you had a chance to talk to them about their both functioning in the same space?
No, I never met those two guys. I look for them. I tried to find the office of the Constitutional Postmaster General, and I couldn't. I did get a name, but it's tough to sort out whether or not you're dealing with the .gov or the .com when you're dealing with them.
Well, is there some way that you can simplify that by asking, is this the same post office that used to be run by Benjamin Franklin?
Yeah, well...
Or is this the .com?
To answer part of that question, a guy named Keith Livingsway allegedly has the portfolio from Ben Franklin, the first Postmaster General of the United States. And he got that at auction or some such fairy tale. And as the original portfolio for Postmaster General was not passed from the first one to the second one, and this guy got it 200 years later, he now thinks that he's the Postmaster General.
Okay, but he's not either the .com or the .gov Postmaster General under USPS, right?
He claims he is, and he claims they're bogus. And they could be, but I doubt if he's real.
Wow. So when was the last time you tried the 2-cent postcard and the 3-cent letter?
6 years ago, 5 years ago. But this guy, Ted at Abodia, he does it all the time. He sends out hundreds of cards at 2 cents a piece, does it all the time. But I think it's a function of the postmaster. The postmaster at a post office says, look, they're on to us and we have to honor these 2-cent stamps. Or he says, no, we don't have to honor them, send them back. And I think that's the way they're dealing with it. It's just like when the cops stop you. You say to a cop, XYZ, and he says, okay, thank you very much, and you can go. But you say the same thing to another cop, and he says, no, I'm not going to get my supervisor and get out of the car because you're going to jail, and I'm going to impound your car. So, how do you deal with stuff like that? I don't know.
Persistent.
Yeah, persistence got me in big trouble, William.
That's what I hear, and I don't know, because I've seen some online videos that made the claim that you could send the 2 cents postage and the 3 cents letter, making sure that the letter is under the weight limit for the 3 cents. I've yet to try it. I'm prepared to. I bought a bunch of 2-cent stamps to see if this can work. So I haven't done it yet, and I've been talking about it for some time, but I guess I better do it now that we're doing the TV show, and then we can give them an update next show on whether or not that actually worked out. I also seen another site that instead of using that postage that way, you could send it for free using like this other stamp thing. Is that same link that I gave you for getting my passport? He released a video to show how to send mail for free in those big envelopes. and it said right on there, the cost was 0.00, and it made it from this other guy to him for proof. He got it at his house. This guy sent it to him. So there's ways, and analyzing the first video about the postage stamp, I faintly remember it was like you couldn't use the zip code, and you had the state completely out, like Oregon, instead of using the two letters. And you probably went through that whole procedure on yours, right?
I even wrote out the number of the law that authorized it.
Oh, wow. And I also seen this other weird scenario where a senator could actually just like write their name up in the upper right-hand corner where a stamp normally would be, and they can send mail for free just by putting their signature up there. I thought that was kind of weird. I never knew that before, like about a week ago. They call it something.
Yeah,
is it franked on top of their signature?
What is it?
Is there some kind of mark on top of their signature?
I don't know, but what'd you call that?
franking.
Yeah, franked. That's where I got it from. Somebody said franked, and then I looked it up and seen that it was real, and that at one point they were cut off from doing it because it looked like it was getting excessive, or they were abusing it, and then that power was given back to them by the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, reps can do it too, not just senators.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the post office
so
has
they have
stuff.
to do it in their. They have to do it in their office where someone knows them or someone has the stamp. They couldn't just go home and write somebody and send it in the mail, because then it doesn't have that stamp, that frank.
Okay. And then the Postmaster General, right? They seem to get their power from Europe somewhere, right?
That's news to me. I thought they got it from the Constitution, where it was post office and post roads.
I get the information from Jim Wright from the USA Republic. He talks about this U.S. Postal Service thing that extends. The power actually comes from Switzerland or something. The Master General or something, right?
Roger talked about that too.
Yeah.
That's
so somehow. Go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah. So somehow, when Jim Wright talks about it, he talks about taking people to task for mail fraud. When these entities out here called government divisions or districts or whatever, when they send things through the mail and it's fraudulent, you take them to task through the Postal Service, and you go through each stage, and you just keep adding those people that don't do their job to that claim until it finally gets over into Europe, where it's actually dealt with, and then you get your resolution to the problem, I guess, from there. It's still hard for me to follow his whole story. He hasn't presented it in a reality to me. It's just a story at this point. I would love to see that it's true, at least somehow, or we can get some kind of resolution to the fraud that's happening in this country.
Remedy.
Yeah, remedy.
Yeah.
By the powers that should not be, as I like to call them.
Yes. So, anybody else got anything more that they'd like to say on this?
Can I ask about the reason that the complaining about mail service would go to Europe? Wouldn't that bring in the Universal Postal Union? Isn't that kind of a reference to them?
Yes, that's a treaty, and it comes out of Switzerland.
Yep.
And so
There's like
that's
200.
where, just like what?
There's like 200 countries that have signed on to that treaty, and they all signed it out of Switzerland.
Okay. So anytime any local postal service is out of line, does it ultimately go to that location, the Universal Postal Union or resolution? Is that why it goes to Europe?
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
Jim
you have
Wright,
to take it
that
there. You have to actually take it there. It doesn't just automatically happen. When you see failure at your local level, you have to take it to the national level in Washington, D.C., I believe it is. And then if he doesn't take care of it, then you send it to Europe.
right. And when you say Europe, that's a big place. But are
Yeah,
you talking about
Switzerland.
Switzerland or some?
Yeah, Switzerland. I'm not talking about the European Union.
I think it's
Right, you're
actually
talking about Europe.
Bern, Switzerland, I think is where that treaty originates out of, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
Well, I think we need to get a copy of that treaty and see what their powers and duties are.
I think so too, William. Let's appoint Richard to be a committee of one to do that.
Okay.
Okay, I can search.
Okay.
All right. So we'll get an update on the next show and we'll call this one done.
Yep. Let's call this one done. And
So we want everybody to go to our website, orsja.org. You can find us on YouTube by clicking the link on the site there. Please join us in Salem on May 1st and on May 8th for special stuff. Thank you.
I'd like to bring something to the attention of everybody on Oregon. On May 1st, there's going to be rallies that I know of. There's going to be one in Oregon City. There's going to be another one in Salem at the Riverside Park, I believe it was. And that's going to be at noon on the 1st. And that one's going to be pretty much sponsored by Oregon's well regulated but unauthorized militia. And there's supposed to be several people from there on that one. Some people are afraid that Antifa might show up, but I'm not. Then on the 8th.
They have no interest.
Yeah, hopefully. Then on the 8th, we're going to have an arraignment and a trial for the 90 members of the Oregon legislature. And based on past experience, we'll show up and we'll do our job, and they won't appear. And in absentia, they'll receive their arraignment and their trial and their verdict. And that's what I think is going to happen. So everybody that can, it'd be really good if you showed up at Salem on the 1st, Riverside Park, and then on the 8th across from the State House. And if you can only make one, make the trial on the 8th.
You make it there on the 1st, you can sign up to be a jury for the 8th.
Excellent. I withdraw my original statement. If you can only make one, at least make it on the 1st and sign up to be a juror, because we're going to need jurors for a really long time.
Amen.
Yeah, amen.
The very word secrecy is repugnant. in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying, and then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead with his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.